Welcome to all my travelers out there. I am your host, Darren Beckett, and this is the Global Travel Podcast. For those who do not know my travel resume, I've been to 13 states, 15 countries on 5 different continents, but it is not about me. Here, we are giving you quality travel tips, insights, and recommendations on all the best destinations for ideas to enjoy your vacations. With that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. We are all clear for takeoff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we reach our destination, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, click the bell, and if you can do me a huge favor, if you can go into the comment section below, type in the words, "I got my ticket," and after the video, I'm going to come by, respond, and see how your experience went with us, okay? So with that being said, on today's episode, we are taking a trip to Kenya. So make sure you got your passports, your earphones, and something to snack on. We have a very special guest here with us today, but before I introduce her, let me just say this. Now, this young lady right here is well-traveled. She's been to 10 states in 22 countries. So if Kenya's on your list, you want to pay attention. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Miss Elise Brio. So how you doing
Thank
today,
you.
Elise?
I'm doing pretty good considering just the state of the world. How are you doing?
Right. Same state of the world. I woke up this morning. I'm breathing. I'm feeling pretty healthy. So no complaints on my end.
Mhm.
And then we can go ahead and just jump right into it. But before we go into all the traveling and all that, tell our viewers, our listeners a little bit about who you are, where you're from, where you live, hobbies, travels, X, Y, and Z.
Oh, for sure. So as Darren said, my name is Elise Brio. I'm also a hip hop artist and rapper, poet extraordinaire. And so my artist name is Baptism. So I am from Long Beach, California, born and raised, but I lived out of the country for 4 years. So I lived in Barcelona, Spain for 3 years, and then in Nairobi, Kenya for a year. And so while I was out there, when I was in Spain, I was working as an English teacher, and then I ended up studying a master's degree in international relations. And then I was working for a nonprofit organization in Kenya. And now I'm back in Long Beach. And but I love Long Beach so much. I encourage everyone to come visit here too.
Yeah, how could you not? Long Beach is such a beautiful city and a beautiful state, so definitely recommend it. What are some of your hobbies? I know traveling definitely is one of them. What are some of your other hobbies non-related to travel?
So like I mentioned, I am a poet and a rapper, so I love writing and making music. And then I also love dancing so much and, trying different styles of dance. I love yoga. I love food.
Yep, of course, that's important. Okay, cool. So let's see. You know what? Let's start off in Long Beach since that's where you're at right now. Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and start off in Long Beach. What do you recommend for folks to do when they come visit Long Beach?
So I think Long Beach is just an underrated gem of a city. Where are you located, Darren, by the way?
I'm actually in the LA area too, northern
Okay.
LA. Yep. So I'm in
Okay.
Cali.
So you're kind of familiar with Long Beach.
Mm.
So in Long Beach, like how specific do you want me to get? Like neighborhoods or streets or whatever?
Whatever you know. As I said, the more the merrier.
So the 4th Street area is one of my faves in Long Beach. There's a lot of retro vintage stores and cool bars and restaurants around that area. I live right now in the East Village Arts District, which is a really cool area as well. Like as the name suggests, very artsy. And then we don't have really the nicest beach in Long Beach. We're not really known for that. But it does have a really nice like bike and walking path that you can go up and down, but not really recommended for swimming. So
We got good weather though. Long Beach
Yeah.
and LA in
Mhm.
general, Southern California got good weather, so that's a plus. What
Yeah.
about some of the places to eat? Do you recommend any restaurants or any type of food to eat while folks are in Long Beach?
So one of my favorite restaurants is called The Socialist. It is like a Spanish tapas kind of style restaurant on 4th Street in Long Beach. It's also like, as the name suggests, like a socialist communist kind of theme. So it's kind of funny,
All
but they
right,
have really
right.
good food and really good wine there as well.
Nice.
Um, yeah. And then what else? This is like kind of random. And
Go
I'm
ahead.
pretty sure it's something that doesn't exist outside of Long Beach, but we have Thai curry pizza here. Thai
I
curry
haven't
pizza.
tried that. Haven't even heard of it. Thai
Oh,
curry
it's
pizza.
literally pizza, but instead of like tomato sauce, it's curry sauce.
Right. That sounds
So
interesting
good.
though. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
So you
sounds
got to go
good.
to Dean's Thai curry pizza to get that.
That's on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that out. I'm not too far from Long Beach, so I'm gonna have to try that out.
Yeah.
What's the weather like in Long Beach year round? What's the best time to come?
Oh, it's beautiful here year round. I mean, right now in like the fall, winter, it's getting a little bit chilly, but for the most part, it's usually really sunny here. It's great to come like in spring, summer, fall, really anytime, I would say.
Agreed. Agreed.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we got a little bit of taste of Long Beach and California. Let's go ahead and get out of Cali. I know a lot of folks know a lot about California. So, what state you the pilot? I'm the co-pilot. What state are you taking us? Where we going next?
So I also lived in Seattle for a while. I did my undergraduate studies there.
Mm.
So it was a little too cold and rainy for me. But Seattle overall and Washington is a really beautiful place, though, that I think
Okay.
people should go to.
When they go, what do you recommend to do or see?
So in Seattle, the neighborhood Capitol Hill is kind
Hmm.
of like the hip area to go. There's a
Hmm.
lot of really cool coffee shops and bars there. I know Seattle is super famous for its coffee, so you can find that everywhere, but especially in the Capitol Hill neighborhood.
Was Starbucks? Did the Starbucks originate from Seattle?
It
I don't know.
did, yeah. You can also go to the original Starbucks in Seattle too.
I got
Yeah.
the original Starbucks. All you
Hmm.
Starbucks fans and coffee drinkers, if that's your thing, definitely want to hit up Seattle, get you some good coffee. And then I know the weather is a little depressing and rainy for us
It is a
Californians.
little bit, but if you go there in the summertime, it's absolutely beautiful. It's like 75 degrees and sunny and clear. So,
Okay, so for your listeners out there, if you're not really into the gloomy weather or the depressing weather, go in the summertime. Seattle's a great place to go in the summertime. Sunshine and everything. So, far as what about? Is there any food? Are they known for like seafood, or what food are they known for, if any?
Seattle actually has really great Asian food, like really great Thai restaurants and Vietnamese places as well. Um, Actually, a friend of mine, her family owns a restaurant called Monsoon in
Mhm.
Capitol Hill. Actually, that's a really delicious Vietnamese restaurant. So,
Nice, yeah.
mhm.
And then far as let's see, how do you get around? Of course, I'm sure you got Ubers and whatnot, so it's probably easy to get around just like any place in the United States. Well, so what type of vibe or culture is it? Is it more like a younger demographic, older demographic, or what's that's like?
In Seattle, there's quite a lot of young people, especially because I think like Amazon and Microsoft and all those kind of like big tech companies are out there.
Hmm.
And so you kind of have like that vibe. There's also quite a big like outdoorsy vibe, like people that are really into going hiking into the mountains because there's a lot of really beautiful nature around Seattle as well.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So before we head out to a different state, anything else you want to talk about for Seattle before we head to another place?
No, I think we can go on to the next state.
Vamonos, where we going? Take us wherever you want to go.
Um, I I haven't been to like that many states. Like I've traveled a lot more outside of the country than within the US.
Hmm.
Um, but where else have I been to that might be interesting to talk about? I've been to Hawaii a few times. I've been to Colorado. Um,
Hawaii's really interesting.
yeah,
Let's take a trip to Hawaii. Let's
yeah.
go to Hawaii. Look, what island are we stopping first?
So I've actually been to 3 different islands there. I've been to Oahu, Maui, like when I was a lot younger, and then I've been to the Big Island most recently.
Okay. So in
Yeah.
your opinion, from your experience, what are the differences between the islands that you've been to?
So the Big Island is the most there are some places on the Big Island that you feel like you're on the moon. Like, like
Oh, that's funny.
there's a lot of like national parks there and a lot of nature to see. It's kind
Mhm.
of there's not as many people and it's maybe less touristy. And I just remember there was this one national park there where there was just this like dried lava everywhere, and I literally felt like I was on the moon.
Mhm.
So if you want like a more spacey vibe, I guess, or just
Mhm.
like less tourists and more in nature, the Island is really interesting.
Mhm.
Um, and then Oahu has Honolulu, which is like quite a big city. So if you want more of a big city vibe or just like kind of more people and activity and like things happening, Oahu definitely has that, as well as like really beautiful beaches. And then I went to
Mhm.
Maui when I was like 14, maybe with my family. So it was quite a while ago,
Mhm.
but I feel like
Mhm.
Maui was also, oh, my phone is going off. Sorry. um,
No, that works. Ain't no big deal.
so yeah, from what I remember of Maui is that it was really beautiful. But
Mhm.
mostly, I don't know. I just remember there being a lot of like big resorts there, I guess. And
Mhm.
maybe
Mhm.
like not as like hectic of a city as like Honolulu.
Right, right. And just to piggyback on that, Oahu or yeah, the Oahu Island, that's more of the city life. So if you guys are interested in
Yeah.
the
Uh-huh.
city, and I hear they have bad traffic. I've never been to Oahu, but I hear the traffic is
Oh,
bad.
I don't really remember, but maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've never been, so I can't really tell you. But there's another island that I would recommend folks going that wasn't mentioned, which is Kauai. Kauai
But no,
is
I haven't been there.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You have to when you go back again, definitely hit Kauai. It's gorgeous. They call it the Garden Island. Very lush,
Mm.
very green, a lot of trees. And as a matter of fact, little fun fact that Jurassic World was actually filmed on Kauai.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So for the different islands that you've been to, what type of traveler do you recommend going to each island? Whether it's a solo traveler, group travel, family travel, honeymoons, what type of travel do you go for those particular islands that you've been to?
I think that Oahu, you could maybe go solo or with friends,
Mhm.
because it's just more of that city kind of like hustle vibe. I feel like that is more conducive to solo traveling or with friends. Um, for the Big Island or Maui, I would maybe say like go with a partner actually. Like maybe that might be a more romantic kind of getaway.
I like that. Yep, yep,
Mm.
definitely. So what about the food? Is there anything about Hawaii or the islands that you liked about their food? I know they serve a lot of poke. So is there any type
Yeah,
of
I ate a
food?
lot of poke, I remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you guys are into fish and seafood, poke may be a thing. Are they known for anything else other than poke?
um, it's been a few years since I've been, so I don't really remember really well, to be honest.
No worries, no worries.
Mhm.
I do know that I thought when I went, I thought that it was known for pineapples. I don't know. I thought
Oh,
they were
I
known,
think so. Yeah.
but they're actually known. The coconut is actually more popular in
Oh,
Hawaii.
okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I learned that. I was like, oh, okay. I'm not really a huge coconut fan, but some folks are just coconut, fanatics. But
Hmm.
okay, cool. So of course we started off in California. We hit Seattle, Washington. We went across the pond a little bit to Hawaii. So now let's go international. We have a little
Hmm.
ways before we hit Kenya. So not state, but what other country would you like to take us to?
Yeah, so I feel like more of an expert in international travel than US travel.
Let's do it.
So before we hit Kenya, one of my favorite countries is Portugal.
Mm,
So while I was living in Barcelona, I just to have a little personal story here. I went through a breakup and my heart was broken, and I had 2 weeks of Christmas vacation from
mm,
my master's program that I was doing. And I like spontaneously decided to take a solo trip to Portugal during those 2 weeks. And I had this like eat, pray, love moment. And
Nice.
I just went there with not a lot of plans and was just kind of going with the flow of things. And I was by myself and it was amazing. And I had like just a lot of really cool adventures and saw some really beautiful places.
hmm
So
So,
I
what are some
highly
of the things
recommend
that
going
you
there.
recommend, like far as like activities and sightseeing and iconic places and stuff to do and see? What do you recommend while we're in Portugal?
So the places I went to while I was there was I started in Porto, which is a really cute town in the north.
hmm
And then I did couch surfing in so when I was in Porto, I stayed in a hostel and I met some really cool people there. And then after that, I went to this little town called Guimarães, also in the north. And I did couch surfing there and I stayed with a family and like slept on their couch for free.
Yeah.
And Guimarães is a really cute place. It's I think it's a really historic town. Like I think the country of Portugal was like founded there, or like the Portuguese language. I don't know, something about like when the country was first born. I think that was like the capital or the center. I'm not like repeating this history well, but it's like a really historical place and they
Mm.
have like beautiful castles and really, really old monuments that are really cool to check out.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I also went to Lisbon, which is a really cool place. I spent New Year's in Lisbon,
Oh,
which was
cool.
really cool. And I stayed in a hostel while I was there. And Lisbon is just really beautiful. It actually kind of reminds me of San Francisco in a way
Mm.
because it's really hilly and they have a bridge that looks like the Golden Gate Bridge there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, what about the food there? How was I've
Oh,
never heard
so
about
good.
the food. What type of food do they serve? What are they known for? What do you recommend us to eat?
The food in Portugal was really good. So it's definitely Mediterranean inspired, although I don't know if Portugal is technically on the Mediterranean. But anyway, they eat a lot of seafood, a lot of fresh vegetables. Like it's quite a healthy diet, I would say.
hmm
Um, and it's super tasty. They have really good wine as well.
Mm,
Yeah.
hmm So are
Hmm.
you more of a red wine drinker or a white
Oh,
wine?
I like it all.
Me too. I got you.
Yeah.
Either can't go wrong either way. It's a win-win.
Hmm.
So far as the language, I believe they speak Portuguese. Do they speak English? Is it easy to get around, or how? What's the language like out there?
So I love the Portuguese language too. I'm actually studying Portuguese right now.
Oh,
That's one of my quarantine hobbies is that I started studying Portuguese.
got to do something.
Yeah. So, but when I went there, I didn't speak Portuguese. I spoke Spanish at the time when I went there, and English, obviously.
Mhm,
And so, a lot of people do speak English, like especially in the bigger cities and the more touristy areas.
mhm,
Um, but also Portuguese is quite similar to Spanish. So if you know Spanish, then that is really helpful for understanding a lot of Portuguese. And sometimes if I would encounter people that didn't know English, I would actually speak to them in Spanish and they would respond to me in Portuguese and we would like sort of understand each other.
I
So
like
that
that.
happened a few times.
Yeah, yeah. Any way to get around, man. You gotta
Exactly.
use if you gotta use hand signs and signals and like that, you do it. Just try to do anything
Exactly.
you can possibly
Uh-huh.
do to get by. And then before we head out of Portugal, what's the I guess what's the weather like? What's the best time of the year to go? How is that?
So I was there during the Christmas and New Year holidays. So it was actually pretty cold while I was
Mhm.
there.
Okay, okay.
But it was still beautiful though. Like it was still quite lovely. But like in Porto, it was kind of rainy. And then in the south in Lisbon, it was like sunny, but still pretty cold.
hmm
So you can still go then. Like I had a great time, but maybe like going more in the spring or summer might be like warmer weather.
hmm
Yeah.
well, let me ask you this. There's a lot of women travelers out there traveling solo. So
Hmm.
I think it's important to talk about that for a hot second. What is your advice? What do you recommend to do, not to do? as a woman traveler, solo,
Mhm.
like a solo travel woman,
Oh,
you know
this
what I'm talking
is
about.
such an interesting topic to me and something that I think is really important to discuss
Uh-huh.
because I think that solo traveling is super empowering and I recommend it for everyone, especially for women, but it does come with its risks. Just
Mm,
being a woman in this world, walking outside by ourselves is inherently, unfortunately, more dangerous.
mhm,
Um, but I don't think that that should like deter women from wanting to pursue solo traveling. You just kind of have to be extra cautious, I would say.
mhm,
And I mean, something that I would do, for example, like when I was going to Portugal, I made sure to just like write down the address of my hostel that I was going to, and like just in case my cell phone wouldn't be working or anything, like to just have something written down for when I arrive that I have like that backup. And I wrote out the directions of how to get from the train station to my hostel. So just doing stuff like that can be helpful, and kind of just using common sense, like I don't know, being careful to maybe like not walk around by yourself at nighttime, or just kind of following your intuition if you feel unsafe in any situation.
mhm.
But definitely don't not travel by yourself.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
it is. And I don't know if folks are aware of this, but there's actually more women travelers than men, and even they travel by themselves more often
Oh,
than we do.
really?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Women are the travelers. You guys are the
Mm.
adventurous ones.
Yeah.
Men, yeah, we won't go anywhere if it wasn't for a woman. Everything is based on a woman when it comes to us. So basically, for instance, like for instance, if it's a couple, it's a better chance that the woman is probably planning that trip than the man. So
I could see that.
yeah, yeah. The women are the
Uh-huh.
planners. They're the ones
Yeah.
that do all the trips. So yeah, women, you guys are pretty awesome for that.
Mm-hmm.
And now, so Portugal was cool. A lot of history in Portugal. Got some good seafood in Portugal. They speak Portuguese for you folks who don't. If you know a little bit of Spanish, or if you know Spanish, that you may can get by a little bit out there. So it's
Mm-hmm.
possible. So yeah, let's go ahead. That was the first place that we stopped at. Before we get to Kenya, what's another country that you would like to talk about? Take us to.
So another country that I loved visiting was Morocco.
Hmm.
And that was another one that I was able to visit while I was living in Spain because Morocco is quite close to Spain. So I went there about 2 years ago, um, and just absolutely loved it. Um, I went with, well, actually, so I went with a friend of mine, this girl Rosario. But the first night I was there actually by myself, and then she joined me the next day. So I had one solo night in Morocco.
Yeah, yeah. Morocco is like right next to or close by Spain, so you can probably take a ferry or a boat or whatever, or even a plane. That'll probably be a
Mhm.
faster route, of course. But far as Morocco, what is there to do in Morocco to see? What is the culture
Mhm.
like?
Oh, there's so much to see. And I actually packed in quite a lot of places in a pretty short time. I was there for about 10 days.
Mm,
And so I went to Tangier and uh, this city called Chefchaouen, or it's more like a town.
hmm.
And Chefchaouen is famous because everything is blue. Like all of the buildings are painted this like pastel blue,
Uh-huh.
and it's really pretty. It's quite a touristy town, but I still recommend going because it's just like a very charming place.
Hmm.
And I went to Rabat, which is actually the capital of the country, just for a night. And I didn't really see a whole lot there, but I had a friend who was there, and we met up with him and ate some delicious Syrian food. And
Cool.
then went to Marrakech, which is kind of a touristy place, but still really cool as well. They have a lot of these old Medinas. So they're these old like neighborhoods where there's just the streets are really narrow and kind of winding, and it's really easy to get lost. And they have a lot of like just street markets and bazaars, and it's just a really cool kind of place to walk around. And then the
Mhm.
coolest thing that I did in Morocco was actually go to the Sahara Desert.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
there's a tour, and actually the tour that I did, it was called viajes in Marruecos. So it was actually like Spanish speaking guides. um,
Go figure.
and so we did a tour that starts in Marrakech, and then you drive for a day, and you kind of stop at these really cool ruins like on the way, and then the next day you drive to the desert, and then you spend the night in the desert. And it was so cool. Like we had kind of like a glamping situation
What is
where
that?
so we were camping in the sand, but it was like really kind of fancy.
Yeah, yeah, that's I thought so.
Yeah,
Glamorous camping. Yeah,
glamorous camping. Yeah.
yeah. So tell us
uh,
about that. I'm interested in that because I'm not a huge fan of camping. I'll be
Me
honest.
neither.
I do like my showers and my toilets and all that.
Me
I think
too.
that's kind of important to me.
Yeah.
So how is this glamping? How is that? What is that
Um,
about?
so I'm like you, where I'm not a big fan of camping, and I like to be a little more comfortable. Like I can stay in a hostel, but I like to have a shower and like a nice
Mm-hmm.
bed.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
but no, this was really nice. And so our guides were local. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I think it's called Berber, like the indigenous people of that region.
Mm-hmm.
And so they set up our camping in kind of like their traditional Berber style.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just had like these big, really nice tents with like little beds in all of them. And they set
Mm.
up these cute little like sofas and campfire. And there was like this big tent where we could eat. So it was like, even though it was like tents and camping, it was still very like kind of fancy and nice.
I like that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it was really cool because we actually got to ride on camels.
Bucket
Uh,
list.
yeah, it was really cool. Camels are kind of scary.
Really? I heard they spit. Is that or is that llamas? Is that camels or llamas that spit or
I
both?
don't remember if they spit. I
Uh,
just remember like getting on it was kind of scary because they like sit down and then you get on it and then they like shoot up and they're
yeah.
really tall.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But it was still
Wow.
really cool. And then we did sandboarding,
Oh, that sounds
which
fun.
I'm laughing because it was kind of a funny experience. So the area in the desert that we were in has these big sand dunes. And
Mm-hmm.
so people were doing sandboarding where you pretty much just have like a snowboard and you
Mm-hmm.
just like sit on it and you ride on the thing. But I was scared to do it.
You didn't do this the sandboarding? Oh
No, I
man.
did. But so the thing is
Okay.
like I'm also not a big fan of like adrenaline activities.
I got you. I got you.
So I like to say I'm willing to take like emotional risks, but not physical ones. So I'm like, yeah, I'll move to like Kenya where I don't know anyone, but
Uh-huh.
like I'm scared of sandboarding.
That's kind of yeah, that's different, but you know what? Teach his own.
Yeah. And so anyway, I attempted the sandboarding, but I kind of got stuck on my way down. And my friends just filmed a video of me and were laughing at me. And then one of our guides had to come like rescue me. So
Oh, that is funny. Yeah,
it was pretty
that's something
funny.
that sound like I want to do. I'm an adrenaline junkie. That's one of
Oh,
my
you
things.
are. You are.
Yeah, yeah. School.
Mhm.
I'm talking about like skydiving, bungee
Oh my,
jumping
oh,
type
I couldn't.
crazy.
No.
Yeah, I'm crazy like that. But I know you mentioned Sicilian food. What is the typical dish in Morocco?
So to be honest, I think Moroccan food is kind of boring.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Not all food is good.
yeah. I personally, no offense to Morocco, it's a beautiful
Hmm.
country, but I
Hmm.
felt like the food was a little bit repetitive and there wasn't a lot of options. So, kind of the two main dishes they have are it's called tagine and then couscous.
Mm.
Um, and I just thought it was a little bland, and like that was kind of the two main dishes that you would find everywhere. So
But what is it? Is it like meat or pork or
yeah, so just
vegetables?
like
Bread?
some meat and vegetables with couscous, but not really with a lot of like interesting flavor, I
I
would
got you.
say.
I got
Yeah,
you.
like
Yeah,
not
yeah.
particularly like spicy or yeah. Not a
Gotcha,
lot of
gotcha.
variety.
So
Yeah.
you also you mentioned couch surfing, which I want to touch on. I
Mm.
actually went couch surfing a few places, but Morocco was one of them. Couch
Oh,
surfing, for
really?
those folks, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
Mm.
interesting. I stayed with a couple guys. They had a room, a bed. It was, I don't know, it seemed like a castle, but it wasn't a castle. But it was quite nice. The architecture was different. The tiles, it was very intricate, very a lot of good,
Yeah.
like very detailed designs. You can tell you was in a different country. It wasn't
Mm.
westernized at all. I was in what okay, I don't know what part of Morocco. I think it was Marrakesh, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
But yeah,
Hmm.
and then they're big on olive, like them green olives, and they
Oh,
put like some
yeah.
type of yeah, they put some type of season on them and dip them in like oil or something. But you just eat just the olive with this like the seasoning on them. And I'm not an olive person, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't
Mm.
bad actually. So, but back to the cow surfing. For those folks who do not know what cow surfing is, can you explain what that is all about?
So I could talk for a long time about couch surfing. So, because yeah,
Summarize.
it's an interesting subject. So couch surfing is
Uh-huh.
actually a website
Mm-hmm.
where if you're traveling, you can literally like stay on someone's sofa for free.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the idea is just to, promote hospitality and, having a more local kind of experience and trusting people. So I think that it's a really beautiful concept. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, as a woman, I have had some really amazing couch surfing experience and other
Mm-hmm.
like sketchier ones. So
Mm.
it's something
Yeah, yeah,
that you
yeah.
have to be really careful about, I would say, especially if you are a solo female traveler, because there's some
Right,
creepy
right.
guys on couch surfing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not recommend for the solo travelers, the ladies out there. I don't recommend you guys couch surfing by yourselves because
Hmm.
you're in a different country, a different place, and you're by yourself, and it's just who knows. And
Yeah.
couch
It's,
surfing,
mhm. I
go
was just going to
ahead.
say it helps, I think, to be traveling with someone else, or if you can find a female host to stay with, but they can be kind of hard to find though. I
Yeah,
would say
yeah,
there's
and
a lot of times a lot more male hosts than female hosts. Yeah.
yeah, because we got hidden agendas. I'm gonna tell you, man. Yeah, we got hidden agendas. Open up housing. They probably don't even accept male travelers. They probably only accept female travelers. So be careful on that. Try
Hmm.
to get you a female host, and basically, like it can be a couch you can sleep in. They got an extra couch or extra room and a bed. It's completely free. You don't have to pay. And just like that, it's to promote travel and hospitality and all that good stuff. So if you're balling on a budget and maybe a hostel is not the route you want to take, maybe do couch surfing. It is a good option, so to speak, depending on the situation. But
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So that was cool. Morocco was cool. We went sand duning on sandboarding in Morocco. The food wasn't that great. So hopefully, when we get to Kenya, it'll be a lot better. And then it was actually hot in Morocco from what I remember. So it was kind of a hot
Oh, when
climate.
did you go there?
And actually, I went, I think, no, I take that back. It wasn't as hot. It was actually it was decent, probably like 90 degrees, 80 degrees. It
Oh,
wasn't that
dang.
hot. But I think I went during like the springtime when they was starting to get hot. So I wasn't there in the
Okay.
summer, fortunately.
Yeah, I was there
But yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
in,
I definitely
oh, I was gonna say I was there in February and it was kind of cold actually.
it was cold. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was a
That's
little
still, I
chilly,
think that's the
yeah.
end of winter. Winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think that's the end of winter if I'm not mistaken. So cool. Yeah, Morocco definitely recommended for you guys if you guys are in that type of thing. Now, I think we are not that I think, but we have finally touched down. We are in Kenya. So
Yay.
what should we do? I know, right? We got it. We off the plane. We stretching our legs. We ready to hit the ground running. So what is the first thing you recommend us to do while we here in Kenya?
Oh, I love Kenya so much. So there's so much to see in Kenya, and it really just depends on what you're looking for. You have like fun nightlife in Nairobi. You have amazing safaris, and the coast has really beautiful beaches. So there's really kind of something for everyone in
Hmm.
Kenya, I would say.
Right. Now,
Mhm.
Nairobi westernized, or is it more of the actual culture, or what's Nairobi? What's the vibe and culture like in Nairobi?
So Nairobi is a big city. It's the capital of the country, and so it's a really unique place. It's hard to just like summarize it.
Hmm.
Um, it's a pretty chaotic place, I would say. Like there's a lot of traffic, a lot of people, a lot of just kind of hustle and bustle happening. Things are not always super organized, but it has like a lot of, I would say it has definitely some westernized elements. And then also just in general, Kenya was colonized by the British. So there is kind of that British influence as well. And you can see that sometimes in like the architecture in Nairobi, for example.
Hmm.
Um, and so, there are parts of Nairobi that are like very nice and fancy and like beautiful hotels. And like the downtown area is quite like, I don't know, lots of skyscraper kind of buildings. And then there's also parts of Nairobi where there's like slums, to be honest, and there's more impoverished neighborhoods or areas where there's dirt roads or a lot more kind of people selling things like on the side of the road. And so there's kind of like a lot of everything.
Yeah. So what's the climate like? What's the weather like while you was out there in Nairobi? Is it like a better time to come than other times of the year?
So Nairobi has actually a pretty mild climate. I feel like when people think of just Africa in general, they just have this idea that everywhere is like hot and humid, but
Yep.
Nairobi not as much. And also Kenya is on the equator, so the seasons don't really work the same way that they might like here in the US, for instance.
Mhm.
So for instance, in Nairobi in June, July, August, it's actually kind of cold.
Oh,
And
okay.
then, yeah, like kind of cold and dry. And
Yeah.
then in other months, it's more kind of hot and sunny. It kind
Mhm.
of just fluctuates, I would
Right,
say.
right.
But for the most part, Nairobi, it doesn't really get like super hot and humid like other parts of Kenya. So it's a pretty mild climate.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Now, when it comes to the food, I'm a huge foodie. So what is it like? I hope it's better than Morocco, but what is the food like in Nairobi? What type of
Um,
like typical dishes do they serve?
so unfortunately, I also think Kenyan food is a little bit boring. um, I don't know, and my Kenyan friends might hate me for saying that, but
It's all right. It's all right.
um, there there's some Kenyan dishes that I really like. They have this thing called nyama choma,
Hmm.
which is typically served, especially at like parties or gatherings,
Hmm.
where it's essentially like grilled goats. I'd never eaten goat meat before going to Kenya, but
Mm.
it's pretty popular there.
Hmm.
And it's actually really good. And they serve it on a platter with just like a pile of salt, and you just grab the meat and like dip it in the salt and then eat it.
Wow.
So that is really good. They Another Kenyan food that I really like is actually a breakfast food. It's called mandazi, and it's
Mhm.
essentially like a fried dough, kind of like a donut, but it's
Mm.
really good.
Mhm.
And then I also love Kenyan tea. So kind of because of that British influence,
Mhm.
like Kenyans love tea. It's a really popular thing to drink.
Uh-huh.
And it's really good. It's like black tea with like hot steamed milk and like a ton of sugar in it.
Mm.
So having your
That d
like Kenyan style tea with your mandazi in the morning is a typical breakfast that I like. But
oh,
apart from that, a lot of Kenyan food kind of just consists of like it's like meat and veggies, but like without really a lot of spice added to
mhm.
it.
Mhm. Mhm.
They have this dish called, oh, what's it called? Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm blanking on the name. It's sort of like tastes like rice, but it comes from like corn maize, I think.
Hmm.
And that is like something that is eaten a lot there as well, but like in my opinion is kind of boring.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
We're not gonna like everything when we go travel.
Yeah.
At least
But
you tried it.
yeah, yeah. But if you go to the coastal area of Kenya, I really like the coastal food there
Hmm.
because that's just like it's a really interesting region of the country because historically it has a lot of Arab influence from like Arab traders that were coming through that region a lot. And so the food on the coastal part of Kenya is a little bit more kind of spicy and interesting.
Nice, nice. So what about when it comes to Americans? Do we need visas or vaccinations, or what is that process like?
Yes. So Americans do have to get a visa, but from at least from when I was last there, you can just get it upon arrival and it's $50. I don't
Okay,
know if that's
okay.
changed, but it's like you don't have to really apply for it in advance, I don't think.
Those are the best ways to do it. Now
Yeah.
I know some places only take cash. Can you pay with credit card, or do you must have cash?
From what I remember, I think you need cash
You need cash. Yeah,
because
a
I
lot.
think
Yeah.
I had an issue with that once where I didn't have cash.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you guys definitely,
uh,
when you're traveling, you definitely want to pull out cash, and you want to pull out enough cash
mhm.
that's going to last you for your trip. That's my advice.
Yeah.
You don't want to pull out cash in another country. It just costs too much to pull out your own money. It costs like eight, nine, $10 just to use the ATM, and then you have like international fees and bank fees
Hmm.
and all this stuff. And the next thing you know, you pay $20 just to take out some money. So
Yeah.
lesson from experience, I'm telling you guys,
Hmm.
definitely it'll save you some money, I promise.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, yeah, yeah. What about vaccinations and stuff like that? Is that necessary?
I Yeah, I think I had to get a yellow fever vaccine before I went there.
Hmm.
And then other vaccines I can't remember, but that one stands out though.
Yeah, one of the
Yeah.
major vaccines that you or vaccinations that you need to take that's required is a what yellow what is it
Yellow fever.
yellow fever
Yeah.
vat. Yeah, you definitely want to get that. Some folks they don't. I don't know. Teach his own. Do your thing. But I don't know. Is it like required? Do you have to show like any type of immunization shots or paperwork or documents to prove it?
I don't remember.
Hmm.
I know that I got it and I have my little thing. But I can't remember like how rigorously they check it though. But I think it's
Right.
like recommended at least.
Right, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. So, if you guys are heading to Africa and especially Kenya, we need visas about $50 last time we
Hmm.
checked. Now, far as what type of music will we hear
Oh, I
in
love the
Kenya?
music there.
I thought so. I was like, how can you now? I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe the food, not, but how can you not like the music? So, talk about the
Mm.
music. What's the instruments? What's the music like out there?
So Afrobeat is one of the most popular genres of music, like especially amongst younger people and whenever you go out to the clubs. Nairobi
Hmm.
has really great clubs and nightlife, by the way.
Hmm.
And so usually in the clubs, they play a lot of Afrobeat music, which I don't know like how familiar or how much like you've listened to, but I think it's really fun. And so a lot of like Kenyan artists, but also a lot of Nigerian artists as well
Hmm. Hmm.
are really popular in Kenya. And also like hip hop music is pretty popular in the clubs too. And then something that I love about Kenya is that in their public transportation, like in the buses, um, it's so different than like here in the US. Like the the buses are like these old vans that are usually painted with like really cool like graffiti or like portraits of like different
Yeah.
rap stars or like stuff like that. They're very
Yeah.
artistic and
Yes.
they play really loud music in the
Hmm.
buses. And so usually in the buses, they'll play a lot of Afrobeat or also a lot of reggae music. Reggae is pretty popular as well. So you'll hear that on the
Mm.
bus.
Nice, nice. I
Yeah.
like reggae music. That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite
Same.
genres.
Hmm.
Now, what about? I haven't been to different places in Africa, just Morocco, so I'm very ignorant when it comes to that continent. What about the attire? Do they dress like Americans? Do they have a different type of attire or swag? How do they dress out there?
So a lot of people do wear kind of Western style, excuse me, clothing.
Hmm.
But then also traditional African or Kenyan attire is also quite popular there as well.
Hmm.
And so sometimes you'll see kind of a mixture of both, or if you're going to, for instance, a wedding or some kind of like formal event, you might see people wearing more of the traditional style of clothing, which is really beautiful. Usually, it's at least for like women's style clothing, like dresses in really bright colors and like really pretty fabrics, like a
Hmm.
lot of bright floral prints and geometrical prints. So like
Hmm.
that in a dress or kind of like in a top and a matching long skirt is really beautiful. And then also Kenyan jewelry is really beautiful as well.
Hmm.
So there's a tribe in Kenya called the Maasai, and
Hmm.
they're really famous for their beaded jewelry. And I don't know if you've ever seen photos of, you might have seen it because they're kind of famous, of like where they have a bunch of like necklaces or they have their ears really enlarged and they have the giant earrings. Yeah, so that's kind of the style that the Maasai are famous for.
Wow.
And but they're kind of beaded jewelry you can find everywhere in Kenya, like in any kind of market,
Hmm.
um, where it's just like beautiful, like bright oranges and blues. So that kind of jewelry is also really popular there, and I have a lot of it myself.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, out of all 195 countries that you could have went to, why Kenya? What made you choose Kenya out of all the countries?
So I went there when I was finishing up my master's degree.
Hmm.
So I wanted to do an internship, and I had studied international relations, specifically focusing on development issues. And so at that point, I had been living in Barcelona for 3 years,
Hmm.
and I was just like, I've been in Europe for 3 years. I kind of want to like try a new continent.
Yeah, right, do something different.
um, and I had always been really interested in going to Africa, and then specifically with my degree that I studied, a lot of that work is done in Africa. Like in Nairobi,
Hmm.
actually, one of the headquarters of the United Nations is there.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, and actually, I got to go to the UN a couple of times, which is really cool.
Oh,
So,
nice.
anyhow, I was looking for an internship and I was kind of looking at a few different places in Africa, but I found this one opportunity in Kenya at a place called Kenya Climate Innovation Center uh, that I just thought sounded really interesting. And so this organization basically helps Kenyan startups that are trying to fight climate change. So
Hmm.
they help entrepreneurs that are doing like renewable energy and clean water and like organic agriculture. And so I just applied for this internship there
Hmm.
and I got it. And I was actually only supposed to be there for 3 months. But then I went there and I just loved it. And once my internship ended, they offered me an extended job contract. So I stayed there for a year in the end.
Nice. So, what about the language? Do they speak? I mean, do they speak English? Can you get around with English, or what is their national language in Nairobi?
So that's also a pretty interesting topic. Most Kenyan people are trilingual, at least.
Ooh.
Yeah, so because they were a British colony, English is one of the national languages there. So most people do speak English fluently.
Hmm.
And then Swahili is also a national language.
Hmm.
And then usually each tribe in Kenya has its own language as well. And there's, I believe, 42 recognized tribes in Kenya.
Mm.
So
Mm.
usually people will speak like their tribal language and then Swahili and then also English.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
Americans, we only speak English. We go every other country. They speak three and four languages, and that's normal. So I'm like, yo, Americans, we
I
gotta
know we
step
got
our
to step
game
it
up.
up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're left. But the good thing about it is not if not all countries, a lot of countries speak English or just enough to where you can get by. So that's the good thing,
Yeah.
and that's the
Mhm.
downfall about it as well, because
Exactly.
we're not forced to learn another language, you know.
Exactly. It's like we can, quite easily travel to so many different countries and just get by without English. But then I think a lot of people feel like, oh, well, I don't need to learn another language. But I
Hmm.
personally, I'm really interested in languages. So,
Beautiful, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Languages are beautiful. I think it's
yeah,
important to at least learn a couple words. I mean,
yeah, I
you
think
feel
so
like you get an
too.
effort.
Uh-huh.
So, but that's just my opinion. But all right, now before you went to Kenya, what was your preconceived notion or judgment about it, and was it true or was it not?
So I think my preconceived notions were not necessarily true.
Hmm.
Um, I think I had this idea, and I feel like this is kind of common, especially with African countries,
Hmm.
that we have this stereotype that everywhere in Africa is like poor and dangerous
Hmm.
and,
Hmm.
um, you know, quote unquote undeveloped.
Hmm.
Um, but once I was there, especially being in Nairobi and just seeing like, no, this is like a big city and it's really modern in a lot of ways. And there definitely is poverty and there are a lot of issues there, but
Hmm.
um, it is not this like stereotypical image that we really have of Africa, I would say.
Yeah, that they show us
Yeah.
on TV, you know, the
Yeah,
commercials, the infomercials talk about you want to help this child for just 50 cents a day.
yeah.
He got
Hmm.
flies. I'm like, come on, y'all trying to,
Yeah,
y'all trying,
I know.
okay.
I mean, like that does exist in certain parts of the country, but that's
Of
not
course.
the whole country, you know?
Right, right.
Um,
And that's the point. That's
yeah,
not all there is to it. There's other
exactly.
beautiful places. It's a rich country, a lot of natural
Absolutely. Yeah.
resources.
Hmm.
Africa is a beautiful country to go to. I mean, even though I haven't really been except for Morocco, but
Oh, you gotta go.
yes, I want to dig deeper into like Nigeria and Ghana, Kenya, and
Mm,
all that stuff.
hmm.
So it's on my bucket list. Definitely want to do that. And then there was something else I wanted to touch on, and let me see here. Now, far as Kenya or Nairobi, what type of traveler is it for? Is it for your solo traveler, your young crowd, your romantic travelers, groups? What is Nairobi for?
I would maybe say not for a solo traveler, or if you are like a more advanced traveler, because it can be kind of challenging. Like I said, Nairobi in particular can be a pretty chaotic place. And so
Hmm.
that can be kind of overwhelming for maybe someone who doesn't have a lot of experience traveling. And actually, when I was in Kenya and I traveled within the country, I usually was with a friend.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and so I think going with a friend makes it a little bit easier. You could also go with like a romantic partner too, like especially for going on safari could be like a really romantic thing to do. But also
Hmm.
just going with friends is a really cool experience too.
Yeah, I definitely want to do the safaris. I
Oh,
be
you
seeing
have
them. They
to.
they be they be walking with the lions and everything.
Yeah.
I could do something like, yeah. That's like I said, I'm an adrenaline junkie. That's real cool to me.
Yeah.
Because I think that's real cool. I don't know. I'm a little
Hmm.
strange like that. I guess a little adrenaline junkie. But far as is there anything in Kenya that you did not do or would do differently? The next time around.
Ooh. I There's more parts of Kenya that I want to see.
Mhm.
Um, Mostly, I want to see more of the coastal area. I did go to Mombasa, which is a city on the coast of Kenya, and loved it. And I feel like this is also something that people don't realize is that Kenya has really beautiful beaches
Mm.
with white sand and like warm turquoise water and like just a total tropical paradise. It's so beautiful.
I didn't know that. Like
Yeah.
you don't think when you think of Kenya or Africa in general, at least when I think of it, I don't
Hmm.
a beautiful beach doesn't come to my mind. So
Yeah,
it,
but
it
they
is
have beautiful beaches, and I want to see more of that region. And then I really want to just see more of the neighboring countries as well.
Mhm.
Um, I I don't know how much we want to go into this story, but I attempted a solo trip to Uganda. but I had kind of a bad experience while I was there. And so I would maybe try to redo that, but maybe going like with a friend into Uganda and to some of the other neighboring countries.
Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely want to do that. And then now there was something else I wanted to talk about. Let me see here. Oh, how long was that flight? First of all, do you remember? I don't know, but how long was that flight?
Oh, it's
About
far.
it was a long flight, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So from, because I flew from Barcelona, but at one point, like I flew back home. And so
Right,
when
right.
I flew home, I flew from Nairobi to uh actually I did this twice. So I once flew from Nairobi to Dubai,
Oh,
and then I actually like spent the night in Dubai.
mm-hmm,
And then from Dubai, like all the way to LA.
mm-hmm. Nice.
And from Nairobi to Dubai was, I think, about 5 hours. And then
Uh-huh.
Dubai to LA was like 16 hours.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you recall the airline that you was on?
Oh, I flew on like the fancy Middle Eastern airlines, which are my fave.
Hmm.
So for that one, I flew on Emirates. And then I've also done that same kind of trip through Qatar Airways. And they're both really nice.
I've
Yeah.
heard, I've heard. Those are even Qatar is a beautiful country and a rich country. So I've heard. I think it's like the number one
Yeah.
richest country in the world.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
also, so during one of these trips, like the first time I did it, I spent a night in Dubai, and the second time I did it, I spent a night in Qatar.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
that
so
makes
I've
sense.
seen both.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Yeah, and,
Yeah.
like I said, it's just a lot to do in Kenya and Africa in general. They got some
Hmm.
beautiful beaches. The food, depending on your taste, food could be good, not so good, depending on what you like. You got some type of meat that you can dip in salt and eat. Supposed to be pretty
Hmm.
good. I haven't tried it, but that's definitely on my bucket list. And then you got some fancy artwork, and they're very artistic out there in Kenya, whether it's their clothing and wearing bright, beautiful, vibrant colors, whether it's their music is really good, of course. So if you're into like music, that may be a good place to go to. And you know what? It looks like we are going to have to start packing up and head back home. But before we do, we're gonna hit some gift shops and whatnot. Is there any last things that you want to talk about Kenya before we hit this flight back?
Um, yeah, I just recommend to go. Not now because of COVID, but like when the world kind of opens up again,
Yeah.
I highly recommend going. It's such a beautiful country, and I think will kind of shatter your expectations about, what an African country is like. And the
Hmm.
people there are so friendly and so welcoming, and it's just a wonderful place.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. So if Kenya's not on your list, put it on your list. And if it is on your list, move it up on the number. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, we do have to head back home. Hopefully you guys got some good feedback and info on Kenya, some good souvenirs and whatnot to take back with you. So on this flight back home, Elise, we have one last segment. I'm going to ask you a list of questions, and you are to answer them as fast as possible. So quick, quick, quick,
Okay.
quick.
Okay.
Sense of urgency. So another thing, you can only answer in one word answer. So no sentences,
Okay.
no stories, none of that backstory. Just get it short and sweet. We'll be good.
Okay.
So let me go ahead. I'm ready. Yep, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Good. So question number one: what is your favorite airline?
Emirates.
What is your favorite hotel or hostel?
Um, Hotel or Hostel One Paralelo in Barcelona.
Oh, nice. What is your favorite cruise line?
I don't like cruises.
Ah, what
That was more than
is,
one word.
yeah, it's all right. It's all good. What is your favorite state?
California.
What is your favorite country?
Spain.
What is your favorite hotel or hostel booking site?
Uh, Hostelworld.com.
What is your favorite flight booking site?
Kayak.
What is one thing that Elise must bring on all of her trips?
Oh. Um, oh gosh. Um, it's really specific. A sleeping mask.
Where do you want to go next?
Ooh, Peru,
What other state would you live in?
maybe New York,
What other country would you live in?
Italy.
Last question. What is your favorite travel podcast?
The World Traveler podcast. So,
Almost.
almost
It's the Global Travel Podcast,
the
but I'll
Global
take it.
Travel podcast. Okay.
I'll take it. I'll take it. That world, global. I mean, it's interchangeable, so that worked too. So yeah, let's go ahead and go with that. But yeah, the Global Travel Podcast. Thank you so much, Elise. Much appreciated. Thank you for spending a little bit of time out your day to help us out with Kenya. Much
Thank you
appreciated.
so much. It was so nice to talk to you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, ladies and gentlemen, we do have to catch a flight back home to our home airports. So, we're matter of fact, we're actually almost at home. So, we gotta get ready to land. So, I need you guys back into your seats, buckle up, trays up, seats in the upright position. But before we land, though, Elise, if you can do us a huge favor, if you can give us one last piece of travel advice, what would that be?
Don't be afraid. Yeah, don't be afraid to go by yourself or to, take a risk.
Well said. Don't be afraid. Just do it. Just,
Mhm.
just do it. Quit thinking too much on it. So thank you so much for you guys traveling and flying with us at the Global Travel Podcast. We are now safely landed. You can unbuckle your seatbelts, grab your belongings, and exit the cabin. With that being said, see you guys on the next trip. If you would like to be a guest on our show and tell us about your travel experiences, then leave us a comment in the comment section below so we can reach out to you. Also, if you have any countries, states, or cities that you'd like us to review, please let us know so we can plan a trip there. Lastly, if you got some good value today and liked our podcast, please hit the like button and click subscribe so you can travel with us again next time. So subscribe right now because you don't want to miss the next trip. With that being said, over and out.